ॐ सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु वहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। गुरुर्ब्रह्मा गुरुर्विष्णुः गुरुर्देवो महेश्वरः गुरुरेव परं ब्रह्मा तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। तस्मै श्री गुरवे नमः। हरि ओम। We have been looking into the 1,000 names of Bhagavan Vishnu, which was given in a very unusual setting. Bhagavan was requested by Yudhishthira, who was a very softy from inside, and he was plagued with the war and the effects of it. And he came to the Lord asking for some kind of solace and direction. That Bhagavan who readily took up the challenge to train Arjuna back into a good mindset. He said, for this kind of mindset that you are, I think the best teacher would be Bhagavan Bhishma. But then Bhishma is not in a good condition. He said, why do you have to take a decision on his behalf? Go ask. If he doesn't say no, then he'll think about it. And where was Bhishma? Smack in the middle of Kurukshetra. And in that Kurukshetra, he was on the bed of arrows, which was shot by Arjuna. And as soon as he saw that the Pandavas, led by Bhagavan Krishna, have approached, and that Yudhishthira has this question that Kim ekam daivatam loke kim vapi ekam parayanam, those set of questions. He says, I don't mind answering all of these questions, but provided Bhagavan, you stand at my feet. It may sound very wrong. So Bhagavan understood his devotee's heart. Bhishma Maharaj, he was taking it as a great opportunity that the message that he was going to give to Yudhishthira could be done while he could uplift his mind away from all these piercing arrows and the pain by looking at Bhagwan himself and dedicating it to Bhagwan. And this is one of the most powerful stutis that have been given to us all common folk. I must add that thanks to MS Subbalakshmi ji, that she has immortalized it further in her voice. So much so that in temples like Guruvayur, Badrinath, when the temple doors open early in the morning at 3:45, 4 o'clock, this is the first thing that they play as her soothing voice. And I was told very recently that she had taken off her time from her kacheris and various stage presentations when she was given the task of chanting Vishnu Sahasranamam to find the most appropriate Pandita who knew how to chant, and spent in that Gurukula about 7 months trying to practice the pronunciation of every single word, so that when she chants it, that there are no mistakes in her chanting. And that is why it is so soothing when you listen to. Now, far and beyond the soothing effect, it has got, as Gurudev puts it in the title of his book, he calls it 1,000 names to the transcendental. This is one beautiful practice to be able to chant Vishnu Sahasranama, and as we are chanting, to be able to reflect on the various aspects of Bhagavan Vishnu as enumerated here in Vishnu Sahasranama. And Bhishmacharya ji has taken amazing depth and interest in presenting or trying to present almost all aspects presented in our scriptures. There are some which directly reflect to the substratum of this entire creation as the Tattva Vichara. There are some which reflect various attributes of the Lord from his various avatars and his interactions with the devotees. So this is like a compilation of all those stories put in one place. Almost every avatar gets covered. Then there are aspects of that Lord in the form of Vishnu, which are truly of a different plane of experience. Those also have been enumerated here. And we have been blessed to have a commentary of Bhagavan Adi Shankaracharya ji on this, which is claimed as his first commentary. It's a pleasure reading through it. So through this effort in trying to immerse our minds in the names of the Lord, these are all like pointers pointing to the core of our own being, core of our own existence, which is the deepest essence of our being. So in this effort, we have seen till the 671st name, 670 names we have seen. If you look into the book that you have, probably it is the 70th shloka or 71st shloka. There seems to be a discrepancy in different versions, because people start the numbering of the shlokas all the way from Shuklam Varadaram, which is not even a part of Vishnu Sahasranamam. But when you start numbering it, even from the interactions of Bhishmaji being questioned by Yudhishthira, then the numbering is one order. If you take from Vishwam Vishnur Vashatkaro, then the numbering will be different. Not that there are 3 or 4 different kinds of Vishnu Sahasranama out there. It is one. But depending on the start point as to how they have numbered, the numbering may be a little here and there. So in our last discourse, we have seen Brahmanyo Brahmakrit Brahma 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 Vivardhanaha Brahmavid Brahmano Brahmi Brahmagnyo Brahmana Priyaha. Now moving forward, we will take the next shloka. Hopefully you have arrived at that shloka in your search. You have? Good. Repeat after me. Mahakramo Mahakarma Mahateja Mahoragaha Mahakratur Mahayajva Mahayagno Mahahavihi. Mahakramaha. Mahantaha kramaha pada vikshepaha asya iti. Mahakramaha. And in the Shanti mantra, he is described as Shanno Vishnu Rurukramaha. So what does Mahakramaha mean? Mahantaha kramaha pada vikshepaha. The one who takes big strides, big steps. And whenever he takes big steps, what is it for? It is to bring in the devotion in the heart of the devotee. So we may have heard, this is a very sweet interpretation here. We have heard people say, Mahatmas say, that you take one step towards the Lord and the Lord takes 10 steps towards you. You put the first step and do it with intensity. You will not fail because he is the one who is walking towards you. Mahakramaha, the one who has these gigantic steps. It is not like our steps. His steps are also gigantic. And they take, he takes these steps towards us all, devotees, only to grant us the highest welfare. And what is the highest welfare? To realize that Bhagavan as our essence of our being. So there are two things here. One, do not criticize yourself as being qualified or not, depending on what we have done, because we remember only what we have done in this life, depending on what we have done in this life. However atrocious be our behavior in our past, it does not disqualify us from reaching out to the Lord. मैं मूरख कल कामी. That Jai Jagadisha Hare Arati. That's why all our Bhagwans say, I know, mane khabar chhe. When somebody is repeating it often, telling you something often, I say, mane khabar chhe bhaya. Khabar chhe. I know. All that you have done is not a secret from me. Papo ham papa karmo ham papa atma papa sambhava. Trahimam kripaya deva sharanagata vatsala. Please protect me, please. He said, you take the first step and I will reach out. Is there anyone here who has not done anything wrong in their life? Each one of us has scores of it. But that should not be the qualifier whether I should be reaching out to that Lord or not. There is a beautiful bhajan where the poet sings, तारा है सारा जमाना, प्रभु हमको भी तारो. Now, many of the people in the past have been uplifted from this samsara. Please uplift me too. I ain't that bad. Then he gives the examples. You have, uplifted this also, that also. So please uplift me also. So it should not matter. Everybody has a past. There are some pasts that we don't want to share because we ourselves are ashamed of it. There are some of our past which is so wrong that it is not worth mentioning. Don't keep calculating on that past. Past is done with. Moving forward, take the right step towards him and he takes his gigantic steps towards us. First. The second point is that when we try to take our hands, our equipments and our even understanding is a limited one. How much can we take? Instead, if we ask him to grant, he will grant it in his style. Because there is unlimited compassion and through that unlimited compassion what flows is something that we cannot even imagine. I'll take you through a simple example. Growing up, in today's world we have kaju, badam, kismis plentifully available. But while growing up, it was used only during the festivities. And that too few festivals. And that too it is used as the garnishing for the naivedya that is done. That is when it gets seen. And as kids, who doesn't like these things? Even as adults, who don't like this? And my mother would take extra effort to keep changing those boxes just so that it is away from our reach. And most of the times, she thought she could hide it in an unreachable corner of the closet. Just one tail missing. Otherwise, I was the naughtiest of all. So I would climb those racks, go to the top, grab that box. Instead of wasting time bringing it down and checking, open it there, check if it is there, close it, bring it down, and then take a fistful. And one day, it so happened Mothers know, they have an antenna for such things. I checked a lot of these dabbas and finally got the right one. And as I got down, opened the box, I saw a fluttering of a sari. And there was their Bhadrakali, my mother. So meekly I like, I wanted some. I would have taken my 2 fistfuls. She took her 1 fistful, and that was so much more than my 2 fistfuls that I had to fill my both 2 hands and ask her to wait, stuff them in my pockets, and then take the rest of it. See, when even in a mortal relationship, when the parents give, they give in such plenty. Imagine of the Lord when He gives. It is unlimited. So we don't ever have to burden ourselves with our past as a stumbling block. That I have done so much, I have done this, I have done that, I have been cruel, I have been inhumane. It doesn't matter. Even the worst of the worst, when they turn towards that Lord, He takes His gigantic steps and in a rushing manner. And we have seen that happen in the Gajendra Moksha. He just started running from Vaikuntha towards Gajendra because he called for him once. And there are beautiful descriptions of it in different poetic expressions where they say that his pada raksha, his shoes, where are you going without me? How can you go anywhere without me? They came flying and settled themselves on his. And Garudaji was like, excuse me, why do you have to run when I am here? And he came flying and then accommodated the Lord, saying, I can take you fast. Then his Anga Vastra, which was left probably on the chair where he was sitting to eat, it came flying. I said, Bhagavan, it doesn't look nice. You're going to a devotee, you have to be presented nice. His Mukuta, his Astra Shastra, Sudarshana and everything came in and joined. Because he was in such a rush to meet his devotee. Because the devotee had done that one step. Call his name with that true intensity. Mahakramaha. The one who takes this gigantic step or steps so that it does grant us the greatest welfare. And the greatest welfare is when we find our own true nature. As Adi Shankaracharya ji puts it in Viveka Chudamani, as we are doing it in the other place, it is still ringing in my head. Durlabham trayame vaitat. And these 3 are so rare, but if you see them happening in your life, they can happen only because of Daiva Anugraha Hetukam. They can happen only because of the Lord and His grace. Manushyatvam, being born as a human being. Fortunately, I have no doubt, I have no confusion. We are one. Aren't we? Manushyatvam is already granted. Mumukshutvam, an intense desire to be liberated. Now, when we look at it that way, then we say that, oh, there are only select few. In fact, every one of us is in that intensity only. Only we don't realize what we are searching. If I break it down into a simpler terms, aren't we all searching for happiness? Invariably, incessantly, continuously, we are seeking that happiness. And in that seeking, we don't want that kind of happiness which is a temporary one or a very short term one. We want that kind of happiness which is long lasting. We may not realize what we are trying to seek, but in essential nature, that which we are seeking is nothing but our own true nature. That makes us a mumukshu right there. It is not a special entitlement that you are a mumukshu only when you wear such ochre robes or yellow robes. It is not about the externality. It is to recognize that I am seeking. But unfortunately, I am seeking it in a place where it can never be provided. But seeking we are mumukshutvam. And to realize that fact, that I am seeking it in the wrong place and this is the right place to seek it and this is the method to seek it, we need a guiding factor. And what is that guiding factor? Mahapurusha samshayah. Mahapurusha samshayah, to be under the guidance of ashraya, of a Mahapurusha. Mahapurusha does not mean Mahan Yasya Udaram, the one who is gigantic, humongous. That is not Mahatma. Who is a Mahatma? That one who has immense karuna without a reason. And that compassion towards this seeker to provide that in spite of that individual's own nature. That nature in Sanskritam I would say vikara. In spite of their own vikara, to reach out to them, to transcend that vikara, to be able to abide in their own true nature. And when these three things are aligned, and what are the steps that Bhagavan takes? Shraddha, Bhakti, Viveka, Vairagya, Shama Samadhi, Shat Sampatti. All these, when they start developing, these are the steps that that Bhagavan takes to make sure, to ensure that this devotee is firmly on that path to realize one's own true nature. Mahakramaha. So what are the three? Manushyatvam, Mumukshutvam, Mahapurusha Samshraya. If planned or unplanned, we are here today. Definitely these Mahatmas who have spent their entire life in reaching out to people even like us. At least I'm talking about myself. If not for their karuna, we would not have been here. So we are already blessed with all those three. Now we just have to fine-tune ourselves. Mahakramaha. Now continuing. And look at this. And whenever I read through Vishnu Sahasranamam, see, for other poets to be able to put a poetic beauty in their work. They have enough ample time to sit, relax, think, and then churn those beautiful couplets. Who is the one giving here? Bhishmacharya. Where is he? In the bed of arrows. It's the most uncomfortable position. Even from that position, look at the beauty in his work of chanting, that even that was not a limitation. To take his mind and soak it in that devotion, wherein the flow, you see this particular shloka, even the earlier one. The earlier one you can very clearly see, wherein he talks about Brahmanyo Brahma 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 Vivardhanaha Brahma Vidbrahmano Brahmi Brahmagno Brahmana Priyaha. Brahma Brahma Brahma. That prasa alankara, it just flows. Even to put that alankara, that beautification of that shloka there, in that uncomfortable position, seemed to be a very seamless flow. And in this shloka, Mahakramo Mahakarma Mahateja Mahoragaha Mahakratur Mahayajva Mahayagno Mahahavihi. Almost every word there has Maha 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 Maha. And in the first two, Mahakramo Mahakarma. It just shows that that mindset of Bhishmacharya ji as to how elevated it was to have this seeming free flow of these words which seem to fall right in this place. Mahakarma. Again, what does Maha mean? Mahat, great. Karma, actions. What is the great action that Bhagavan has taken? Jagat Utpatyadi. Utpatyadi, to create this creation. Adi. Srishti, Sthiti, Tirodhana. He has to maintain all of that. So he has to create it. And how much thought has been put behind this creation? If you look at it as the samashti, from a totalitarian point, every aspect of this creation, there is such a awe in it. Can you take anything that is there around you and make it stand in the space? Try. What happens? Boom, magic called gravity happens. Right? I think it is Surdas ji says, Binu Stamba, without any support, in this Akasha, you have placed all these planets. Isn't that a beauty in itself? Every day when I see the sunrise and sunset, what an artwork. That's why I call it as my unfailing brightness of my life. What amazing beauty. Once I was hearing something on NPR and suddenly it dawned on me that everything that is as a raw material in this, on this earth, they were talking only about water, every aspect of it. It is the same very water that was used There is no new water coming. Once I was in San Diego. Anybody been to San Diego? The water there, when you drink, it has got a different kind of a flavor or a taste to it. So I asked them, why does water taste like this? So they said, this is the best water, Swami. I said, no, I will not agree. Because it doesn't taste right. Then somebody said that because of this lack of water resource there, what they do is all the waters of all kinds is gathered. It is purified, all the dirt is removed, and then the reverse osmosis is done, and then pumped in through the earth. They have developed these layers. They have sand, they have stone, they have charcoal, they have various layers, and it is pumped in through it. It goes through that, filters it naturally, and then it is sucked back, and then again RO. I said, what do you mean all kinds of sources of water? I said, even drainage. I was holding that water in my hand and I said, no, Swamiji, it is 100% pure. It took me a while to settle down with that concept. If you look at it in a broader perspective, every drop, every iota of water that is there has been right since the creation. It's been recycling. And what an amazing system that it has. The water evaporates, gathers as clouds, for a period of time condenses, and then it rains forth. In fact, those rains which nurture all the fields, all the flora and fauna, they are called parjanya. Parijanayati. That which enables all these to grow again. Imagine that he is not creating new water. He has created it right in the beginning of creation, and everything is provided for. There is air. I am not making those sounds. And we have the filtering system. When exposed to the sun's rays, it has got some harmful aspects of it. But this entire earth is covered, and we have discovered only recently that the external-most layer of the surface, the stratosphere, is covered with ozone, which filters out all these harmful aspects, and only the best part of sun's rays reach. Imagine for all this to visualize before creation and creating it. From the Samashti. Now let us look at Vyashti. Did you all have dinner? You put everything into that bottomless pit called stomach. Do you have to put effort to try digesting it? Automatically happens. Today we were unfortunately in the hospital to see someone, one of our family members here, in a very serious condition. So looking at that kid lying down there, we were triggered with the thought that as long as everything functions, we just take it for granted. Even one aspect of it doesn't function. Blessed are those who can even make those sounds. Anybody getting any kind of pain anywhere, they say, this is the worst kind of pain. Oh, pain is worse. Period. Isn't it? Swamiji, you don't understand. My migraine is horrible. You talk of migraine. Imagine if you have one sensitive tooth and it is shaking up or giving you revibration of pain right from its roots. You can't eat anything, you don't want to taste anything, nothing. There is constant pain. Why go any further? A common cold. Your nose is blocked, your sinuses are blocked, your chest feels heavy, you are not able to breathe properly, you sleep but it is very uncomfortable. Even that becomes pain. Imagine that he has thought through all the processes that are required to sustain. And thank goodness he has made them all involuntary actions. They happen by themselves. Given a choice that we had to do it, human population would not have been exploding. Why? Chalte chalte, thap, fell down. Why? Got into the heat of the argument, forgot breathing. Thank goodness breathing happens by itself. Isn't it? How many times we forget so many key things? Of course, we forget the key also. I learnt it a very hard way. When I came in 2002, I was living in Saket. Back in India, the system is little different. You have a key, you have a lock, and you get in and get out, with the opening and closing of that lock. So you carry the key. But here, these doors automatically shut. So one day I had, this is just about 3-4 days into my coming, not 3-4 days, at least 2 weeks. Somebody had taken me to their house for bhiksha. In those days, there was a luxury, I could have time to go. So I went and they dropped me off at Saket. They said, bye, Hari Om, and they left. I turn around, go there and realize, अरे चाबी तो नहीं है. And I did not have any phone facility or did not know the system here yet. Anyatha sharanam nasti. If you have gone to Saket, there are those benches outside. So I slept the night through on those benches, waiting for somebody to come who can open. So the next day at around 11:30, somebody came. I said, Swamiji, what are you doing outside? I have been outside. Pehle ab darwaja to kholo. You don't know under what kind of stress and pressure I am in. No, imagination is to you. I said, don't ask any question. First open the door. Ran inside. Freshened up. And came outside. I said, I don't have patience to cook anything right now. Can you get something to eat? Ate. Up until then, I had been asking for a cell phone. With this incident, next very 3 hours, got my first cell phone. And they said, Swamiji, you could use any phone and you could place a collect call. Pata kisko hai? I didn't know any of such system. Even if you forget one thing, then it leads to one to the other to the other. Imagine in creating this system, Bhagavan has kept certain systems. You don't have to process, you don't have to think. It happens by itself. Heart pumps. Have you ever seen as to how it functions? Such a complex design, yet to create an artificial one, which can encompass all components and is functional. Today we were seeing the life support. There was a machine, a big machine that would maintain body temperature. Another big machine which keeps the air flowing. Another machine which takes care of the heart pumping. And they were cumbersome, huge. All of this assimilated in small equipments inside, naturally created. The first time I realized that the heart valve opens and closes because there is a short amount of shock which is released, which helps the valve to open and close. Bhagavan must have been an amazing electrical engineer also. To visualize the amount of electric current that is required to keep that valve opening and closing, and yet not burn that tissue, not burn that element of the blood being sent. Do we ever feel any shock? Very well balanced. And you look at the entire system, that in itself is a awe. As everything it functions. And it is said, oh, Bhagwan created this world. It seems very simple. Oh, kar diya hoga yaar. Now when you look at these minute details, and what kind of balance, that human beings take the air and breathe out carbon dioxide, and the plants take carbon dioxide and breathe out oxygen. Though the selfish human being forgets that and chops all these trees recklessly, imagine that balance has been created. And what I have touched about the awe, and I can keep talking about it in various angles. These are just few samplers. If you go into the aquatic, they can breathe through the water. Isn't that a surprise? We put a hook, catch them and roast them, finish them. But behind their survival, such an amazing system that they take that water, but their gills are prepared in such a way that it filters out and provides oxygen. We yet to create such a machine. Now, what an amazing concept there. How do you increase oxygen? Pani hai na, machine dal do, oxygen it will keep it. No, we can't. What an amazing system that he has created. So in this Jagat Utpatti, there are these so many key factors that have been embedded in. So much of thought process is put in. That when you look at it that with that keen eye, you're left in awe. Utpatti is only one aspect. Then to maintain it, to sustain it. Today we hear that the basmati grown in Texas, Texmati, is patented. The today world is called the intellectual property zone, where whoever patented first. Milk is patented. Certain kind of water is patented. And these are natural. You have no right to patent them. Who has the actual patent, if at all? We don't even pay royalty to him. All of this is provided without we asking for it. In fact, standing in front of the Lord and dumbfounded, what do I ask of you? You have already provided everything. I don't need to ask of you anything. Isn't it? It seems meaningless. I've mentioned this earlier too. If your child comes and keeps telling you how to take care of him, Mom, Dad, you know, right? You have to take care of me. You have to provide for this. The first time the child says it, it seems amusing. You may laugh. But every hour, every day keeps reminding. When if I were the parent, thank goodness I am not. If I were the parent, I said, "Kaan ke nahi jab aunga, chal. I know what I have to take care. You don't need to remind me." Isn't it? Now, what do we do when we stand there and keep demanding from the Lord? Oh Lord, give me this, give me that also, give me this. You have to demand Ashtakam. Do we need even to remind him how to take care of us? When he has already provided in abundance in maintaining us. And while that maintenance is happening, the tirodhan or the morphing process of this creation, so that it keeps surging into in a newer format, is constantly happening. We eat tons and tons and tons of food over a lifetime. I once sat down with one of my friends and calculated in one lifetime, if per day we take about 10 to 12 ounces of milk, how many truckloads of milk each individual is consuming in one lifetime? How many truckloads of rice, dal, wheat, vegetables? And where is it all going? Constantly sustaining and morphing, changing. So all this Mahakarma, if you and I were to be given a task like this to do, we would have wanted every media, every paper, every radio, every 15 minutes once, advertise and recognize that this person is doing this great. A thankless job, and he does not even question that, please recognize me. The best of the creation is provided and no recognition sought. And there is no reaction to. If you don't recognize me, then in the Greek mythology, it is said that those gods are very vengeful if you don't recognize them. And there is no such concept here. You don't recognize him and still provides. Mahakarma. And all this he achieves just by sleeping on that Seshasari. Effortlessly. Mahakarma. Mahateja. Mahatejaha. यदि येन तेजसा तेजस्विनः भास्करादयः तत् तेजः महद अस्य इति. Why does he call him as Mahateja? Because the brightest of the bright. Teja means bright, illumining. Who is the brightest of them all? Don't say me. The brightest of them all, Bhaskaradayah. The sun, the moon and the stars. If they are this bright, imagine of the one who is providing them with this capacity to be that bright. How bright would he be? Therefore, he is called Mahateja. Yena Suryastapati tat tejaha tejaseddhaha. That because of whom the Surya glows. And then we also hear Yadadityagatam tejaha jagadbhasayate khilam. That because of whose presence, that because of whose permission, the sun glows and illumines all these worlds. So we have seen in different scriptures also that this being mentioned. Therefore, he is called Mahateja. In fact, when we look at Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan says that wherever there is brilliance, wherever there is something shining forth, understand that it is my aspect which is reflecting there. You see a bright face, it is the presence of that Lord. You see a brightness in a thought. You know, they have thought through so much. For your sake, they have thought through. And that is the shine of that Lord himself. So shine is not to be taken only as the physical shining. It is that brilliance behind everything. When a house is kept clean, and shining, it is that also the expression of that Lord. When you look at some artwork, when you look at some amazing things that have been created, the brilliance behind those, that is the expression of that Lord, Mahateja. Mahakratuhu. Mahanscha asau kratuscha iti. Kratu is Yagna karma. In that Yagna karma, in that Yagna karma, his karma is the Mahan, the greatest one of them. I'm just waiting for the page to open. Oh, there is one more in between, right? Mahoragaha. What is Mahoragaha? Uraga means the serpent, the snake. Mahoragaha. Mahanscha asau uragaha cha iti. Where Bhagavan says in Bhagavad Gita again, in the Vibhuti Yoga, he says, Sarpanam asmi vasukihi. That which Bhagavan Shiva wears on his pinky, on a little finger, as a ring. That was used in the Milky Ocean churning. So all these serpents are also the expression of the Lord. Another meaning is that on whom he takes rest. Ananta Padmanabha. Why is he called Ananta Padmanabha? The one who is lying down on the snake called Ananta. The name itself is so revealing. Who is he? Ananta, there is no end to him. And how is he? With all his 1,000 heads turned inward towards the Lord. So from this perspective, you can say that Lakshmana and Balarama are also the expression of the Lord, avatar of the Lord. But it should not be in lieu of removing Buddha from the list. You know, our friends, the vertical lines. Not that because I am having horizontal. In their stotras and stutis, they have removed Buddha and then they have put Rama, Balarama, Krishna. In one way it is justified. You can add Balarama there, but don't miss out on Lakshmana. Because Lakshmana is also equally the expression of that very Bhagavan himself. It is the Amsha of Adishesha. But it should not be with the animosity that, Buddha will never treat him as avatar. That is also an aspect of avatar. Mahoragaha, the serpent, and that serpent's different avatars are also the expression of this Bhagavan himself, Mahoragaha. Mahakratuhu. Mahakratuhu. Kratu means the Yagna karma. And in that Yagna karma, the most sanctified one amongst all these Yagna karmas is the Ashwamedha Yaga. And that is why when somebody in the Purana were performing these Ashwamedha Yaga, Indra would feel threatened. That if this fellow acquires this amount of punya, then there is somebody who is challenging my position. Therefore, he would create some kind of obstacle or the other. So this Ashwamedha Yaga, remember in history who else had done it? Bhagavan Ramchandra ji had done it, which became the unifying factor to meet his own children. There is nothing unfortunate, it was designed that way. But on a battlefield, he was only happy that if anybody could challenge him, was his own sons. Ashwamedha Yaga. Mahakratuhu. All these sacrifices are also his expression. So whenever in our human interaction we reach to the limits of our tolerance, wherein we usually hear between Srimati and Sripati in the a little bit of Mahabharata in every house. How long do I keep sacrificing for your sake? Then remember to acknowledge the other person. If you have been sacrificing that much, you are closer to the Lord. Because Mahakratuhu, these yagna sacrifices, as somebody pointed out beautifully, that everybody wants to achieve something outstanding, and we map our path towards it. But as much as we map our path towards that goal, one thing that we don't take into our planning is how much does it take to give up and sacrifice to reach there? And are we ready for it? If that bottom line is clear, understood, then however challenging that it may appear, you have mentally prepared yourself for that kind of sacrifice. And what is the highest sacrifice? Aham apetakam nijavibhanakam. To sacrifice this entity called ego. We are ready to sacrifice everyone and everything else other than our little petty stupid ego. When that act is done, understand that also as a expression of that Paramatma alone. Mahakratuhu. Mahayajva. Mahayajva, the one who performs many sacrifices for the welfare of that which has been created. Mahanscha asau yajva cha iti loka sangrahartham yagnan nivartayan mahayajva. That one for the sanctity and the welfare of that which has been created, who does immense sacrifices. When did he sacrifice? Did he sacrifice? Now let us take Ramavatar. What did he sacrifice? Imagine if tomorrow you are going to be given the entire kingdom. So you sleep imagining, Arey, kal main Raja banunga. Tomorrow I will become the Raja. Morning you wake up, shower, prepare. You are now on the peak of your anticipation. Just about then, you get a call. Sorry, man. It has been given to somebody else. Too bad. Not only that, you have to also go to the forest. That is the beauty wherein Bhagwan Ramchandra ji comes to his mother, biological mother, Kausalya Devi. And he has to now break this news to her. Put yourself in that moment. If it were you and me, what would we have said to our mother? I said, only imagine, don't speak. I am not mentally prepared to listen to all that. We would have been seething with anger, complaining, calling out names. Your other sister, do you know what she has done? Why should I do this? Why should I give up? It is my right. And if it were to happen in Kali Yuga, what would the son have done? He would have gotten a stay order from the court. That this is legally my right, and my father's third wife does not have a right to put this kind of block in my growth. And this I'm putting it little hilariously, but there have been, look at the Mughals. They have killed their own fathers, they have imprisoned their own mothers, they have killed their brothers. Why? To have that kingdom. Now this Ramchandra ji, when he goes to his mother Kaushalya Devi, what does he say? None of this animosity. But instead he says, Mother, instead of being the king of Ayodhya, father has given me the kingdom of forest. So I have to leave now immediately. How delicately put. He doesn't blame Kaikeyi, he doesn't blame Bharata, he doesn't blame Dasharatha. I knew father was this spineless. I'm just imagining here, okay. If it were you and me, what would we have said? Couldn't he just put his foot down and say, nothing doing? And he had given a word to his wife. How am I liable to change my lifestyle for his word? If he has given a word, he has to go to forest. Why should I go to forest? Nothing of that animosity. He instead says, Father has blessed me by giving the kingdom of forest. So I'll be leaving soon for that. Smilingly left. In fact, for the Kshema of Ayodhya, in the middle of the night, he runs away from the people because people are not ready to leave him. He rushes out, saying, what is a kingdom without people? And these people have to technically go back and live in Ayodhya, and they can't be following me for 14 years. It is wrong on my part to expect them to follow me. Therefore, it should stop here. And he leaves them right there and he disappears. 14 years. Somebody who has never lived without that royalty, living in a thatched roof, sleeping on grass. Isn't that a sacrifice? For what? Loka Sangrahartham. No, Bhagavan Krishna, the next avatar. Where was he born? Many of the Indian politicians claim this. अरे आप लोग इसकी काहे चिंता ना करें, हम श्री कृष्ण जन्म स्थान ही जा रहे हैं. I am not going to jail. I am going to Sri Krishna Janmasthana. Talk about misappropriating. He was born in a prison. How long was he with his mother, biological mother? As soon as he was born, he was separated from his biological mother. Then he is taken to Vrindavan. And growing up there, he was the most notorious child. If it were happening in this Kali Yuga, in an American backdrop, the teachers would have suggested, please put him on ADD medication. Please take him to a psychiatrist. Why? He's behaving like this because of his childhood trauma. And try to visualize the Krishna Avatara in this setup. It would be quite horrendous, the outcome. When was he first assaulted? When was the first assassination attempt on him? When he was barely 3 months old. Right from that age up until his 8 or 9 years of age, when Akrura comes to take him to Kamsa, one after the other asuras attacking Vrindavana. Even after having been taken by Akrura, right in the entrance, it is like, and as he is reaching Mathura, the attempts on his life increase, almost like, one after the other. There was an elephant that was let loose on them. And then he goes inside. They say it was a sport display. But then what was the instruction to Chandur and Mushtika? To kill these two kids. How old are they? One was 8 years old, the other one was 9 or 10 years old. Krishna and Balarama. If he wanted, he could have become the king. But then that imprisoned grandfather, Ugrasena, they released him, placed him as the king, and then started his tapas, as if this was not tapas in itself. Constantly running from Dwaraka to Hastinapura and back. And if we were in that position, we would have had ulcers, migraines, sleeping disorders, wherever Bhagavan Krishna is described. Tulsidas ji puts it very beautifully. Surdas ji also puts it beautifully. Wherever Bhagavan is mentioned, they say, Mrudu Musukai Bhagavan. Always with a pleasant, beautiful smile. On the funny part, he still managed this smile. That is the greatest tapas, I would say. In spite of 16,008 wives. And in Bhagavatam, there are stories wherein it was not a very easy task. Satyabhama competing with Rukmini for attention. Have you heard of those stories? And yet, how was Bhagavan? In spite of that penance, with a smile. Mahayajva. Mahayagna. What is the greatest yagna? Bhagavan says that in Bhagavad Gita. Yagnyanam japa yagnyosmi. And once Akhandanandji Maharaj's guru, Odiya Baba, he said something very beautiful. I have not heard anybody else give that perspective. He says that whenever we utter the name of the Lord in the form of sound is taking avatara right on our jihva. That ability to even say that name of Lord is his blessings. And where is Bhagavan avatar? Where is his avatara? In the form of Shabda. And what are the coordinates? Right on the Jihva. And he calls it as Jihva Avatarana. Right on our tongue, he is taking avatara as that Shabda of that Japa mantra. So therefore, when people say, but I don't feel, I don't feel it, Swamiji. Bhaad mein ja tere feeling. Even if you don't feel, mechanically utter it. Because it is that Lord alone who is expressing himself in the form of that sound. Mahahavihi. Some of these Balavihar kids, especially when they are very, very young, their tongues don't roll. And there are a couple of these kids that I have spotted, and I look forward every Saturday and Sunday to cross my paths with them and make them say Hari Om. Because their tongues can't roll. And I say, Havi Om. Cutest thing. It makes my day. Here it is not an apabhramsha of Mahahavihi, Mahaharihi. It is Mahahavihi only. What does Mahahavihi mean? The greatest offering of oblation into that Mahayagna. If you read the Purusha Sukta, what did he offer for this creation to be a possibility? Abadhan Purusham Pashum Tam Barishik Prokshan. What does it mean? They tied down this Brahman as the offering into the creation as the fire. Man, this seems very brutal. I have read a Westerner's interpretation of it, and it is such a horrifying interpretation that the primordial God was sacrificed into the fire of this creation, and that is how Hindus believe that the creation is created. It's a half-baked understanding. What does it actually mean? We believe in that Brahman which is Advitiya. Advitiya, there is none or there is nothing other than him. So if he has to create and there is nothing other than him, what would he create out of? Out of himself, he extends this creation as an expression. Therefore, he is called Abhinna Nimitta Upadana Karana. He is the material cause, he is the intelligence cause, and he is the instrumental cause as well for this entire creation. When we look at this creation, it should always be perceived as the expression of that Narayana himself. It has been ingrained into our system that when our foot touches something, even a non-living, what are we taught? Do namaskar immediately. Why? Because that is also an expression of that Narayana himself. And when Gurudev says in his pledge, service to the nation is the service to the Lord of Lords and service to the humanity, what is he talking about? That every expression is nothing but Narayana, and interacting with them and offering our services to that is our service to that Narayana only. Now, if we look at it from that perspective, it is no more the interaction between husband and wife or parents and children. It is my opportunity to serve that Narayana in that form. Because the entire creation is nothing but the result of his offering himself into the creation as the creation. Mahahavihi, greatest oblation offered. And this is the very concept with which this whole Vishnu Sahasranama started. What is the first name? Vishwam. What does Vishwam mean? That Narayana himself is this creation. Mahahavihi. We'll continue the next shloka tomorrow. Om Shant Shant Shantihi. Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.